These hills in eastern Congo don't look like a battlefield, but buried inside them is the metal that powers your phone and a war that's quietly redrawing the map. In 2025, a rebel group called M23 surged across North and South Kivu. Peacekeepers pulled back. Diplomats rushed to stitch together ceasefires. But the real story isn't only who holds the ground, it's who controls the minerals that run the modern world. Think about the path from a muddy hillside to a shiny battery. Coltan, tantalum, tin, gold. If you can tax those sacks of ore, if you can move them along the right road, you can fund an army. Maps and markets become the same story. Start with a number. Millions of people displaced in eastern DRC since late 2024. As M23 pushed toward Goma and Bukavu, two cities that sit beside rich seams and the roads that move them, the humanitarian charts spiked. Families packed what they could carry and ran. Clinics ran out of medicine. Aid workers warned that the lines were getting longer, not shorter. How did we get here? After the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, Hutu extremist militias fled into what was then Zaire. Rwanda intervened twice in the late 1990s to neutralize those threats. The region never really stabilized. A patchwork of groups emerged and re-emerged. M23 takes its name from a March 23rd peace deal in 2009 that never truly took. The movement faded, then returned in 2021. By 2025, it was advancing again, fast. Here's what changed. As M23 moved south and east, United Nations experts said Rwanda wasn't just supporting the rebels, it was exercising command and control. Kigali strongly denies this. Rwanda says it's protecting its frontier against FDLR militants, the same extremists who fled after 1994. That denial matters. So does the allegation, because the next part of the story is money. Control a mine and you control a revenue stream. At a place called Rubaya, one of the most important tantalum hubs in the world, a parallel authority arose. Traders were charged a cut on every sack, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, according to UN-cited estimates reported by major outlets. That money buys fuel, food, logistics, and loyalty. It buys time. Once ore crosses a border and gets mixed with other shipments, it's hard to tell where it came from. Paper trails say clean. The battlefield suggests otherwise. Watchdogs investigating the trade found that minerals labeled as Rwandan sometimes likely originated in conflict zones inside Congo. Companies named in those reports issued firm denials. Governments issued denials. But the ore keeps moving, from hillside to highway, from smelter to supply chain, from warehouse to the device in your hand. While this was happening on the ground, a second story played out in meeting rooms. The peace tracks that began in Luanda and Nairobi were pushed toward a merge. In July 2025, a declaration of principles was signed in Doha. For a moment, it looked like momentum. Then the familiar cycle. Accusations, counter-accusations, violations, delays. A proposed economic framework, the idea that cleaner trade could backstop a ceasefire, ran into a wall when Kinshasa said foreign troops were still inside its territory. No verifiable withdrawals, no deal. All of this was amplified by another decision, the drawdown of peacekeepers. At Kinshasa's request, the UN mission ceased operations in South Kivu in 2024 and consolidated elsewhere. Regional troops from SADC began a phased withdrawal in 2025. Fewer blue helmets, more room for men with guns, more room for private contractors, and more pressure on civilians. Walk through a camp and you understand what pressure means. tarps flapping in the wind, children waiting in line with yellow jerry cans, mothers telling the same story again and again. We fled at night. We left the fields. We left the house. We left the goats. We don't know when it will be safe to return. Aid agencies do what they can. But emergency spreadsheets can't rebuild a police station, pay a teacher, or make a mine compliant. Step back, and the pattern comes into focus. The war is about security, yes. It is also about the root minerals take from pit to port. If you can move ore under your flag or under your protection, you earn the power to decide what happens next. And if you can launder the origin on paper, you can sell it to the world as if nothing happened. There's a temptation to make this simple, to point at one capital and say, there, that's the villain. Reality is messier. UN experts accuse Rwanda of deep involvement with M23. Rwanda disputes the charge and points to FDLR threats that the world often underestimates. Kinshasa arms proxies it says it needs for survival. Other neighbors run their own plays. Smugglers exploit every gap, civilians pay the price. So where does this go from here? One path is a frozen conflict. The lines harden, the guns quiet down, but never fully stop. Minerals continue to flow through gray networks. Checkpoints become permanent fixtures. Humanitarian numbers rise, fall, and then rise again. Another path is escalation. More proxies, more drones and artillery. Supply chains start to attract sanctions, and legitimate exporters get hit alongside the guilty. Prices spike. Everyone loses. There's a third path. Call it conditional de-escalation. Verified foreign troop withdrawals that everyone can see and measure. A sequenced disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration plan for M23 rank and file with real incentives to lay down arms. And the hardest part, clean audit trails from pit to port that don't collapse the moment the cameras leave. That means buyers, downstream brands, tech firms, battery makers, rewarding compliant chains and walking away from dirty ones. Not in a press release, in purchase orders. Because this isn't just a Congo story. It's a story about the contradiction inside the green transition. We want clean energy. We want fast phones and long-range cars and stable grids. But the metals inside that future come from places where governance is fragile, where borders are porous, and where a mine can become a military objective overnight. There's no single speech that fixes that. There is only the slow work of aligning incentives with peace. Pay miners fairly, tax exports transparently, punish smuggling with consequences that matter, create off-ramps for fighters who don't want to die for a road, backstop it with regional diplomacy that doesn't vanish when the news cycle moves on. In eastern Congo, the front line and the freight line are often the same road. Change the direction of the money, and the map can change too. If you want clean tech, you need clean governance, at the mine, at the border, and at the warehouse. Until that happens, the war behind your phone won't stay off your screen for long. Maps and markets are the same story. And in the Great Lakes, that story isn't over yet.